Hey, so let's talk about the Liyue 4-star, starting with Ningguang. Ningguang is the style that deals with both normal attacks and charge attacks. She's a pretty unique character, but because she is a mage, most people might not like the way that she plays, just because it feels slower. However, you can artificially increase your attack speed by just holding a direction forward, and that will make you attack slightly faster. Even before 1.3, she was a very good character because she does so much damage. She is like the best Geonuke in the game as of right now, I would say. Like, her ult does so much damage, especially after you run through her Jade Shield, because that will increase your Geo damage. With the new Geo Resonance, pair her up with a Geo Traveler and a Shielder to be able to decrease the Geo Resonance. She's going to be doing even more damage. Like I said, because she's a mage, most people might not like her, so she is pretty niche. However, she is still a very good character. Xinyan, I'll be honest, I really don't know what this character does. I don't think she's a good character at all. Her elemental skill has like an insanely long cooldown, and it does not do enough damage to warrant that long cooldown. You're a Pyro Claymore, so you think that you would be good, but your Pyro damage on your elemental skill is not that big, even if you melt or vaporize with it. She thrives on fighting multiple enemies, so if you're fighting just one enemy, she's not really going to do anything, because her shield is not going to be the highest tier. Even when you do have the highest tier shield, though, the Pyro damage that it inflicts by the pulses is not that good. Her Pyro application is pretty bad in that sense, because you need to follow those conditions, and because the pulses on her shield are intermittent pulses, she can't actually take advantage of melt or vaporize with those because they just don't do enough damage. And the radius is also incredibly small, so the Pyro application is not really there. And then her ult is probably one of the worst in the entire game, in my opinion. The main brunt of the damage is going to be a physical hit that you hit the enemies with, and then afterward is a bunch of Pyro hits. However, the physical hit does not do that much damage for a 60 cost ult, and the radius for it is so incredibly small. I don't understand how that's good. Like, you have to be right up next to the enemy for that to work, and if you're not, you're very likely going to miss, and then the ult is just wasted because the Pyro damage that happens afterwards is not really significant at all, and again, you can't melt or vaporize with it because it's just a lot of small hits instead of just one big hit. And not to mention that her ult has some of the longest end lag of any ults. Because you're right up next to the enemy and your ult does not actually stagger consistently, the enemy is going to probably attack when your iframes end. And because your iframes aren't actually that long, you're almost always going to get hit by the enemy, which is just kind of stupid. Like, you are a main DPS physical Pyro character, but you're competing with Razor, who is just a much better physical DPS Claymore because he's Electro, so you can take advantage of her conduct. Like, I don't understand what Xinyan is supposed to be as a character. She doesn't bring anything new to the table. She doesn't have any specific niche that makes you want to use her. She's just there. But there are better characters than her. I don't understand what she is. I can't realistically recommend this character because I don't think she's a good character. Beidou. Beidou can function as both a main DPS and a sub DPS or like ult spam. As the main DPS, she does very well. You can afford to go with a physical Electro hybrid in that sense. If you're using her as a sub DPS or a main DPS or whatever, you kind of want to understand her parry mechanic, which is not technically a parry because you still get damage, but you just don't notice it because you have a shield. But for all intents and purposes, it is a parry. The timing for it is pretty strict. I say this as somebody that doesn't really use Beidou. Like, when they say you have to activate it as soon as you get hit, they mean as soon as you get hit. Like, not any time before, not any time after. It's pretty strict, but it's very rewarding because she does a ton of damage. It's kind of like an AoE because it's just a wide slash, so you can hit multiple enemies for a ton of damage, and she actually gets more energy if you do the parry correctly. Now, I feel like she is a very good ult spam character because she just does a ton of damage while she's not even on the field. She has a continuous or lasting ult, meaning that you can swap out to another character after she uses her ult, damage with that character, and she's going to be doing damage even when she's not on the field. She thrives in large groups of enemies because it will bounce between enemies, dealing damage to everybody that's within a specific radius, and it's just incredibly good. Characters like that are always going to be good because it just increases your DPS by so much. Beidou is an incredibly good character, and then we move on to a good partner for her, who is Xingqiu. Xingqiu is by far one of the best 4-stars in the entire game. His elemental skill does a ton of damage. It is Hydro, so he can vaporize. It is a wide slash, so it's kind of like an AoE. He produces so much energy just on his own. Pair him up with a sacrificial sword, which I understand is a gacha weapon, but it is his best weapon. He's able to do those 2 times and just produce 10 Hydro particles so fast. With those 2 hits, if you have enough energy recharge, which is not hard because sacrificial sword gives you like 50% on its own, you can activate your ult pretty much every single time and then have it active 100% of the time. His ult is the best part about him because, like Beidou's, it is a continuous lasting ult, so you can swap out to another character and he's going to be dealing damage even when he's not on the field. His ult lasts so long and it does so much damage, especially with C1. His constellations are incredibly good and just increases damage by so much. He's just such a strong character. If you don't already have him, definitely go for him because he's one of the best. And this is not even mentioning that his passive is one of the best in the entire game. His passive is going to save you so much resin over the course of your entire Genshin career. And then we move on to his best friend, Chongyun. Chongyun is a character that can function as both a main DPS and a sub DPS or ult spam. In my opinion, using him as a main DPS, he is definitely not one of the best main DPSs in the game. You can use him as a main DPS, you can make any character work, but the investment that it takes to make him a main DPS is definitely lower than other characters. His Claymore attacks scale worse than a lot of the other Claymores. He's much better suited as a support or just straight up ult spam. His ult is a bunch of cryo hits, so if you actually can melt with that with somebody like Bennett, then he just does a ton of damage. And then Xiangling. Everybody already has Xiangling for free, so I feel like you already know what she does. She is a character that can also function with the main DPS and a sub DPS slash ult spam character. As a main DPS, you definitely want to go for the Crescent Pike because Crescent Pike is just ridiculous, but I feel like she's better suited as a support. Her pyro application is not the best just because Goba can miss very often. The way that he targets enemies is a little bit awkward, but she does have pretty decent pyro application with Goba. Her main pyro application is going to be through her ult. You can actually pair her up with Xingqiu and Chongyun to just constantly melt and vaporize the enemy, which is really insane. Her ult does so much damage, it lasts for so long, it has such an incredibly huge AoE. It's a pyro attack, so you can melt and vaporize. It's just so incredibly strong in both single target application and large groups of enemies. She's just a very good character, but everybody already has her, and her C1 is not that amazing. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Like and subscribe if you want, I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.
Bye-bye!